Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast that brings you in-depth analysis and unbiased coverage of the world's most pressing news stories. I'm your host, Walter, and we're glad you're joining us today. We're coming to you live with a special segment on the latest developments in the Middle East, where a historic ceasefire deal has been signed in Egypt aimed at bringing peace to the Gaza Strip. The agreement has sparked a wave of emotions across the region, with many Palestinians celebrating the release of hundreds of prisoners held by Israel. According to reports, Israel has freed approximately 1,700 Palestinian prisoners and 250 security detainees in exchange for 20 hostages held by Hamas. This move is seen as a significant step towards implementing the ceasefire deal, which was brokered by international leaders. We've seen heartwarming scenes of released prisoners being reunited with their families, with huge crowds gathering to welcome them home. The emotional return of these liberated Palestinians has been described as priceless by many, with some prisoners having spent decades behind bars. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has suggested that the UK could play a key role in helping to disarm Hamas in Gaza, drawing on its experience of encouraging militant groups in Northern Ireland to lay down their arms. This proposal has sparked interest among international leaders, with some seeing it as a potential model for resolving the conflict in Gaza. As we continue to follow this developing story, we'll be bringing you expert analysis and insights from both sides of the conflict. We'll also be examining the implications of this ceasefire deal on the broader Middle East peace process. For now, let's take a closer look at the reaction on the ground in Gaza, where many are cautiously optimistic about the prospects for lasting peace. We'll be speaking with correspondents and experts in the region to get a better understanding of the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're glad you're still with us as we dive into the world of politics and current events. Today, we're taking a closer look at the latest approval ratings for President Trump and what they might mean for his administration. According to recent polls, President Trump's average approval rating during his second term is sitting at around 42%. This is slightly higher than his average approval rating throughout his first term, which was 41%. But what's behind these numbers? Some analysts point to the president's handling of key issues like inflation, immigration, and jobs. Others argue that his base has been shaken by controversies such as the Epstein investigation and the deployment of the National Guard to major cities. It's worth noting that President Trump's approval ratings have been steadily declining since the start of his term, with a notable dip following his announcement of wide-ranging tariffs against U.S. trading partners. However, he has also seen some successes, including the passage of signature policy legislation and a recent proposal to end the Israel-Hamas war. To put these numbers into perspective, we can look at how they compare to those of his predecessor, Joe Biden. At this point in his term, President Biden's approval rating was around 43%, according to Gallup. Of course, every presidency is unique, and there are many factors that can influence public opinion. As we continue to follow the developments in Washington, it will be interesting to see how these numbers shift and what they might mean for the future of the Trump administration. Will the president's approval ratings continue to decline, or will he be able to turn things around? Only time will tell. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're wrapping up today's show with a look at the complex web of international politics and economics. A recent visit by Argentina's President Javier Milei to the White House has sparked interesting discussions about global alliances and financial aid. As we dive into this story, it's essential to understand the context. Argentina is facing significant economic challenges, and President Milei has been seeking support from his ally, U.S. President Donald Trump. The two leaders share similar ideologies, and Trump has pledged $20 billion in aid to help prop up Argentina's struggling economy. However, this move has raised eyebrows among economists and politicians alike. Some argue that the bailout is a strategic move by the U.S. to counter China's growing influence in Latin America, particularly in Argentina, which is a major lithium producer. Others question whether the aid will truly benefit the Argentine people or simply serve as a temporary band-aid for the country's deep-seated economic issues. President Trump has made it clear that his support for Milei is conditional, stating that if the Argentine president loses the upcoming legislative elections, the U.S. may reconsider its financial aid. This has led to concerns about the potential consequences of such a move, including further economic instability in Argentina and potentially even a default on its debt obligations. It's also worth noting that Trump's decision to provide aid to Argentina has been met with criticism from some quarters, with some arguing that it contradicts his America First policy. The U.S. president has countered that the move is necessary to support a like-minded leader and promote economic growth in the region. As we analyze this situation, it's crucial to consider multiple perspectives and avoid taking a biased stance. The relationship between the U.S. and Argentina is complex, and the implications of this financial aid package will likely be far-reaching. In conclusion, the visit by President Milei to the White House has highlighted the intricate dance of international politics and economics. As we move forward, it's essential to stay informed about developments in this story and consider the potential consequences of such actions. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.